More than 600 planes worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Over 200,000 people eager for aerial entertainment. For 6 days, a flat, dusty airfield at Avalon, west of Melbourne, became Australia's aviation capital, playing host to the biggest air show ever seen in the Southern Hemisphere.
Hello and welcome to the Australian International Airshow Down Under. I'm David Brown, and for the next hour I'll give you a guided tour of this massive display on the ground and in the air. And a little later on we'll take a look at the awesome power of this Fighting Falcon. We'll highlight spectacular performances by an assortment of aircraft, big, small and really small. We'll meet death-defying pilots joining them on board for a rare and at times dizzying view of stunt flying. The airshow officially began several days before it opened to an eager public. Victorian Premier Jeff Kennett doing the honours by opening the Trade Expo.
It's with great pleasure on behalf of the Victorian Government and the opposition and the Victorian public that I officially declare open the 1997 Australian International Airshow and Aerospace Expo.
The expo ran for the first 3 days. We'll see more of that later. It was a hot time for the participants, temperatures in the low 40s, gusty winds and plenty of dust, making life difficult. The first chance the public was given to mingle with the machinery was Friday night. It was billed as a flight and light spectacular. Australian jazz star James Morrison and his band started proceedings. After the official speeches, it was time for the RAAF's precision flying team, the Roulettes, to take centre stage. A pristine twilight sky and music from a jazz legend. What more could an airshow want? Pilots aboard these PC-9s are experienced flying instructors. Their roulette training is on top of their regular duties. The pictures you're seeing from the cockpit come from their video. Every performance is taped and analysed. By the way, the smoke comes from a fire mist of oil spraying onto the hot exhaust outlet. Another feature of the Friday night display, Australian aerobatics expert Chris Baru. The old plane tradition continued soon after with the Southern Nights. Based in Victoria, the Nights fly restored World War II trainer planes called Harvards. Without doubt, one of the crowd favourites over the entire airshow was the team of Americans Jim Franklin and Lee Oman. These daredevils have revived the old-fashioned art of wing walking, a thrilling, dangerous stunt. Jim's the pilot. Lee is the crazy guy in the red Phantom suit. When given the nod, Lee moves from the wing to between the wheels. As this remarkable camera angle shows, Lee has no safety rope or harness as he moves around high above the Avalon crowd. Scrambling back into the cockpit, he moves up on top of the plane and straps himself in. When Lee is ready, the real fun begins.
Best way to describe hanging on the airplane, it's real windy.
So there's always concern, you know, but safety is our primary objective, and I don't intend to lose him. He's a pretty good wing walker. I'll probably keep him.
At one stage, the pair fly upside down just a few feet off the ground. It's an incredible stunt, but why do it?
That's, everyone thinks I'm crazy and stupid, but not really. It's just like doctors go to work, or, you know, lawyers, whatever, pilots. I'm just doing the wing walking part of it, so that's the job.
Jim Franklin also does a solo act that's even scarier. We'll see that a little later. Things then calmed down a little. The darkness was greeted by a mass parachute jump of over 100 people. Meanwhile, lurking just behind the tarmac, the Whitman's lightship, a yellow blimp that's cruised around all major sporting events lately. A quiet moment in the program was all it needed to sneak in a flight past. The night sky wasn't dark for long, with some graceful performances by parachutist Dave Benson and son Rodney. And Manfred Radius in his glider. The only night performance of the air show finished with a bang though. It's not a big firecracker, it's an RAAF F-111, dumping fuel into its afterburner to finish the show.
The nighttime spectacular was definitely impressive, and the huge crowd went home pretty satisfied. In our look at the Australian International Airshow, we'll find out how easy it is to build one of these in your own backyard.
And we'll also take a stomach-churning ride on the US Air Force F-16, one of the show's star attractions. For the thrills and excitement, there's a far more hard-nosed group of people who see things a bit differently from the rest of us. They are, in fact, the real reason behind the air show. They're the hundreds of exhibitors in the Aerospace Expo. For them, the chance to network means the chance to sell. Maybe not right away, but sometime in the next few months or even years, a contact here could mean the difference between winning and losing a contract worth billions.
You see, the aerospace trade show brings together aerospace exhibitors, companies from right around the world. There's about 435 of them here at this air show from some 27 countries. And this is extremely important because it enables Australia in general, and Victoria in particular, to showcase its abilities, its industrial capabilities, its commercial capacity to the world.
After the 1995 air show, it was estimated Australia's aerospace industry benefited to the tune of $45 million. This time around, it's hoped that figure will double.
The Australian market is certainly big enough for us, Rolls-Royce, to be here. But of course, it's good also to have the opportunity to meet potential customers and our own customers from the region. So it has a double benefit, basically.
Of course, all the big companies are here: Boeing, Lockheed, British Aerospace and the like, chasing representatives of the dozen or so air forces from around Asia that are making the rounds.
Oh, a lot of international business today depends on relationships. It's really difficult to just sell something to a country, so to build a partnership with an Australian company to do a program together for Australia is really the best way to go.
On the way through, you could have picked up the latest in navigational aids, a complete radar system for your local airport, or perhaps a small missile. If you like spying on your neighbours, a helicopter-mounted camera may be your idea of a smart investment. Other displays feature model helicopters, model fixed-wing planes, and a fixed-wing pilot's idea of a helicopter. A collection of spare parts flying in close formation. The British were gentlemen enough to offer all comers a feel of the new Eurofighter combat plane, while there are enough missiles on display to make you wonder if the Cold War is really over. Another big seller at the Airshow Expo, corporate jets. The very latest in luxury cruisers were on show, leading the charge the Gulfstream 4. We snuck on board the Gulfstream for a test flight from Avalon to Sydney and back to check out the sales pitch.
Hello and welcome to the Gulfstream 4SP. What I'm about to show you is a business tool that senior executives from all over the world are able to use to be able to do their business face-to-face with their companies all over the world. Please come with me and let me show you our galley. In the galley, there's two sections, left and right, about 60 inches apiece. They're fully outfitted to be able to cook anything from scratch, any meal that you want to have. Because the airplane range is such that it's an 8 to 10 hour airplane, it's going to have maybe 2 or 3 meals in the course of a flight, and you have the ability to be able to stock and cook foods accordingly for that. Just aft is our lavatory, and it has all the amenities that you need to freshen up in flight and to do whatever you want to do in the course of an 8 hour or 10 hour flight. This is the beginning of the main section of our main cabin. This section up here is our eating and dining area, but also a meeting area. On this side here is our credenza. In the credenza is our entertainment components. In the forward section up here, you'll see that we have a telephone, which is a satellite communication telephone. This phone is connected via satellite, as I said, and you can use it to call anybody in the world at any particular time. It's also tied to a fax machine. The fax machine is tied into the satellite communication system, so you can receive faxes and send faxes whenever you need to. This four-place grouping up here is the most quietest part of the cabin. It has 4 single chairs that fully articulate 360 degrees. Come follow me and we'll take you up to the cockpit.
Good afternoon and welcome aboard. I'm Larry Mueller. This is Craig Lowe. Hello. A brief view of our Gulfstream 4 cockpit. This is our primary flight display showing the aircraft attitude. Our altitude, we're descending into Melbourne. Our speed is 8/10 the speed of sound. Our navigation display showing a lateral track across the Earth and the vertical profile, as you can see the descent. The aircraft is controlled by the autopilot set here and also automatic throttles as selected right here. This display is our engine instruments, and on this display we can present all of the aircraft systems, including what's called TCAS, which will alert us to other aircraft that are in the area.
Thanks a lot for flying aboard our Gulfstream 4SP today. And just to let you know, if you're interested, this airplane runs between 27 and 29 million US dollars, and we're happy to talk to you at any time. Thanks a lot.
One plane not for sale at Avalon was the mighty F-16 fighter jet from the US Air Force. This warbird flew every day, thrilling the crowd with its awesome power. The F-16 has a video camera that records what the pilot sees through his head-up display. So strap yourself in and let Captain Brian Turner take you for a spin. In case you're wondering, you can hear Captain Turner breathing, and that other noise is him chewing gum, something he does to relieve the effects of the gravity forces the routine creates. At times he'll be feeling pressure or G-forces equal to 9 times his own body weight. You'll know it's when his breathing stops.
Without doubt, the biggest thing on show at Avalon is this thing, the US Air Force C-17 cargo plane. When we come back to the Australian International Airshow, we'll get a guided tour inside and out. And we'll join the mighty Canadair water bombers as they battle choppy water to collect a load. The 17 Globemaster from the US Air Force.
I'm Captain John Lipinski with the United States Air Force's Air Mobility Command. I'd like to give you a brief tour of the C-17 Globemaster III, America's newest airlifter and core airlifter. If we look over here, we've got our engine. It's a 40,000 pounds of thrust on each engine, and we've got the thrust reverser deployed. That thrust reverser allows us to routinely back under our own power and increases our ground maneuverability at tight, austere airfields. Over here in this configuration, you can see the engine with the thrust reverser stowed, and that's the normal configuration in flight. Now, another unique feature of this aircraft, which allows us to stop in short airfields, are the slats and large powered lift flaps. This gives us slow final approach speeds, approximately 120 miles per hour, and allows us to routinely land and stop in less than 3,000 feet with full load of cargo. What I'd like to do now is take you to the back of the aircraft and have Master Sergeant Orr describe the working end of the aircraft.
Hi, I'm Master Sergeant Bobby Orr, C-17A Globemaster III Loadmaster, and welcome aboard. As we come on up, this aircraft has stowage provisions for tie-down spread throughout the entire aircraft. We have our personnel static lines for personnel airdrops are up on this side, so jumpers can go outside that door. We can be fully configured with 102 paratroopers, or we can go with 48 litters and 54 seats on the side wall. The seats simply rotate down, and if we have paratroopers, they can fold out, allowing space for paratroopers' parachutes. Moving off forward, once again, as you can see, we're just spread out the seats. We have 7 more of these style seats. Each holds 6 people in order to install to carry our 102 total on board the aircraft. We also, when we do heavy equipment airdrop, we have rails we can raise, and each section lifts up or retracts. Highest capacity in order to load a fully assembled AH-1W Cobra gunship. We don't have to break it down like on other aircrafts. We can haul 72,000 kilos of cargo on board the aircraft, or one main battle tank at 62,000 kilos.
You see the back end of the aircraft that provides rapid global mobility. Why don't you come up to the C-17 flight deck and take a look. Hi, welcome to the flight deck of the C-17. piece of instrumentation in front of me is called a heads-up display, or HUD. This aircraft is usually seen in fighter-type airplanes, and it's unique to be seen in a large transport aircraft. Also, if you notice here, we have a center-mounted stick control, which provides our fly-by-wire, and also with a mechanical backup. The 4 displays in front of me offer us an option to monitor our aircraft position, basic flight instrumentation, engine instruments, and the configuration of the aircraft itself. As you work down the center console, we've got our inputs for our mission computers and a throttle quadrant which controls the engines. Of course, this aircraft is also designed to be flown into combat situations. And with that, we're capable with state-of-the-art aerial delivery and aircraft defensive systems. Hope you enjoyed this brief look at the C-17. We really enjoyed our stay here in Australia, and hope we'll be welcome back.
Just a bit smaller than the C-17, but still impressive, were the 2 Canadian water bombers. The Canadair CL-215 played an important part in fighting the recent Dandenong bushfires because of their ability to dump large amounts of water quickly. We went on board one of the bombers as they went for a demonstration run. The planes collect water by skimming along the surface with tanks open. If you look closely on the bottom right, you'll see Canadair 1 filling as our plane soars overhead. Wind can make life difficult, and the collection process is also hampered by the choppy seas, but it's still a dramatic way to fill a water tank. Once full, the planes fly in formation back to the fire, or in this case, the display, and one by one move into position. There's no doubt they're an effective firefighting weapon, a handy friend in a time of need.
As we've already seen, there is plenty of action in the skies over Avalon. And when we return, we'll go up there and meet the people called the ringmasters of this aerial circus.
And we'll jump onto the tail and go for a spin in the world's smallest manned mini-jet. Earlier, American Jim Franklin and his mad friend Leoman the Wingwalker provided one of the airshow highlights. But Jim wasn't finished. After putting Lee down, he set off on a solo aerobatic routine that was nothing short of amazing. What made Jim's show different from the rest wasn't the skill of the rolls or the intricate turns, but the height of his act, or rather, the lack of it. He's flying just high enough to clear the paddock fences. If that wasn't enough to give the crowd sweaty palms, there was worse to come. Jim roars up to several thousand feet, then throws his Waco mystery ship on its back and into a flat spin, plummeting out of control to the ground.
From the exhaust stack and recovering right at ground level, Jim Franklin in the Rocco JMF-7.
Jim has been flying since he was 8, and he's modified this plane to suit his death-defying needs. But he's ready to move on. A jet engine is being added which should make life even more interesting. Another man defying the laws of gravity is Nigel Arnaud in his Sukhoi 31. Arnaud is regarded as one of the world's great aerobatic pilots, and it's easy to see why. Of course, an air show wouldn't be complete without a flight past from a popular war veteran, the Spitfire. Only one Russian jet was airborne at Avalon, and it was a little unusual. This Sukhoi, one of several model planes to feature. Perfect miniature replicas, complete with powerful turbine engines. Speaking of mini, this little jet does have a person aboard, Dave Harris, pilot of the world's smallest manned jet. Dave likes to talk to the crowd during his routine, so we just strap the camera onto the tail of his little jet and let him tell the story.
View of this tiny jet as Dave goes by. What's your indicated airspeed, David? About 190 knots, sir, Gordon.
We try to keep the airspeed up when we're low. In other words, you want to be fast down low, and high, you get slow. That's when you can slow the airplane down.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Harris coming across will pitch it up for the 4-point hesitation roll. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. Beautifully executed, David. The 4-point hesitation roll.
The gear's up. He's coming down. Now you see him. Now you don't. Now you see him. Now you don't. One more time, Gordon. Now you see him. Now you don't.
Imagine yourself sitting in a lawn chair, okay, on a greased rail doing 350 miles an hour, because there's no other ride like it. An F-16 doesn't fly like this, an F-18, you know, they don't fly like this. It's so small, and it's so quick, and it's so maneuverable. It's almost like those little flies that you guys have down here this time of year.
Just before Dave began his routine one day, his path to the runway was blocked by the big C-17.
Microjet, there's a loop into the terminal area just on your right-hand side. Can you get around to C-17 that way?
Fixing that problem is one of many responsibilities of the people in the control tower. Leading the team is Les Dunn, a man they dub the Ringmaster.
It's a zoo up here sometimes, it really is. It gets really busy. But if we plan properly and things are on time, things run smoothly. But there are little things that happen on the airfield. People go unserviceable and you incur delays. These are sometimes unavoidable and they make life interesting, I guess.
A team of experienced air traffic controllers cram into the tiny tower to keep an eye on the planes, making sure the aerial display runs smoothly. Dealing with such a diverse range of aircraft can make the job pretty interesting.
There's a lot of planning's gone into this, and we just hope that you know, it all comes together at the end. We plan that it does, but there are so many variables in this that if you get a straight through run without any hiccups at all, you begin to wonder what went wrong.
Even though they were dealing with over 600 planes of all shapes and sizes, the show was completed with no serious problems. There were home-built planes of all shapes and sizes at Avalon, and not all are built by individuals or families, as we soon discovered.
Hi, I'm Howard Hughes, and I manufacture the Lightwing range of aircraft. The Lightwing comes in 2 versions. You can either build the aircraft yourself, or we manufacture the aircraft from the factory. Now, because of the small size of the Australian aviation industry, I've undertaken a project which I call the School Fly Project. And this is where we have school-aged children from years 9 to 12 actually building and flying their own aircraft in school time. Now, Ballina High School is the first school to take this up in New South Wales. And the kids started by building the wing. And there's a rather funny story with that. Normally, most of the schools that are involved in the School Fly Project actually build the aircraft from components, but Ballina High School actually started to build the wing ribs, which are the little bony bits inside the structure there. Now, they actually recycled some of the school desks because in order to build the ribs, you sandwich a piece of thin aluminium, cut it out with tin snips, and then sandwich it between 2 pieces of plywood and then hammer the edges over, which makes the folded ribs there. And they actually used some of the school desks, or old school desks. So some of these wonderful formers had Johnny Pixie's nose emblazoned on the desk, so it was a terrific bit of recycling. But the kids start with the desk, start with the wings, and once they're framed up, they're then covered with this fabric material, and before they're covered, that's a fairly soft fabric, but aluminium up here. That entire wing weighs only 20 kilos, and yet it can support a massive weight of around 2 tons, actually distributed over the wing. Once the wings are constructed, they then move on to the fuselage here, and once again this is covered with aircraft fabric, the traditional aircraft fabric, with dope. It's painted with dope once it's finished, and it's inspected by the Sports Aircraft Association prior to covering. It's then painted, and it all looks very, very pretty, and of course it's a very light structure. This whole aircraft only weighs about 280 kilos. Now, once the aircraft's finished, the engine's fitted, and this is an Austrian engine, and one of the more expensive parts of the aircraft, and unfortunately one of the bits that's not made in Australia, but we live with that. This isn't the normal, this is a smaller 2-stroke engine, and the Ballina High School and Maria High School and also Kent Street went for the bigger 4-cylinder engine. And the propeller, that's Australian made, so the engine's the only bit that's not Aussie made. The object of the School Fly project is to get kids involved in constructing something that's complex and that's technologically challenging, and they also get involved in quality control.
Australia has a rich aviation history, and this old girl is one of the highlights. Connie is a hit with the experts and the airshow crowds, and shortly we'll have a look inside.
And we'll take a rare ride with the deadly Cobra attack helicopter, the pride of the US Marines. Was once a familiar sight in Australian skies. 16 were flown by Qantas. Today, one has been restored to flying condition, and its distinctive shape was impressive in the Avalon sky. We went on board for a chat with Connie's restorer, Bob Delahunty.
Okay, Bob, tell us the story about Connie.
This aircraft was sitting over in the deserts in Tucson, Arizona. In 1991, I opened the door for the first time and found where you're standing now, about 1 feet of pigeon droppings all laying all over the place. All the panels around the aircraft were covered in pigeons. The aircraft was due to be scrapped, but the pigeons had stopped that because the scrap metal people didn't feel that the pigeon droppings would help the metal ingots. So the aircraft survived because of pigeons. Well, the aircraft, originally they could cruise along at 24,000 feet, about 240 knots, but we cruise around Australia 6,000 to 8,000 feet. We don't need to go high, we don't have to climb over big mountains, and we use about a 220 knot cruise speed. And the engines are just lumping along very slowly there.
So that's what, around about 440 kilometres per hour?
Yes, yeah, around that sort of order.
Geez, Alan, what happens here at this Laminex table?
This is actually the navigation area. The navigator used to sit here. He's got a complete set of flight controls, a altimeter, airspeed indicator, compass, and various other navigation instruments. And he used to actually do a map plot from this table.
I notice we've got a big skylight here. It's actually open.
Yes. Well, normally the window goes in it, but he has a sextant hole here, and he would actually do a sun shot or a moon shot if at night, and they could actually plot where they were. But, you know,
well, I mean, how accurate was that sort of navigation?
It was very accurate. We actually had a RAF navigator who used the sextant on the way over, and he would line the compasses up halfway across the Pacific, and it was pretty good, I have to admit.
And what about the bunks here? Is that for when you switch on the autopilot?
Unfortunately, there's a bit of a fight for the bunks all the time. They are quite comfortable. Depends on who gets in there first.
This is incredible, Alan. Very spacious. Unusual in many ways for a toilet.
Well, it's actually called a lounge.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And how does it all work?
Well, it's all operated by hand pumps. You've got a little hand pump there, and you get your water supply from this top tank and this tank here, so it's all pretty good for the 1950s.
It's not bad, is it? Well, look, I'm busting. Thanks very much for the tour, but I've really got to go. Excuse me.
From the old to the very new, the US Marine Super Cobra helicopter was a crowd favourite. This machine was only 2 weeks old and the pride and joy of the crew. We were allowed a rare chance to put a camera on board to experience flying in a deadly fighting machine. The Cobra design has been around since the Vietnam War, but several upgrades have been made to the computer systems and weaponry, making it a very effective and potent helicopter. The Cobra flew in the last session of the weekend aerial display, along with some other impressive military aircraft. Australia's Air Force was well represented. They brought their FA-18 fighter for a bit of friendly rivalry with the Americans. This plane, called a Hornet, is being flown by Steve Wild, who the RAAF call Wildman. While the crowd was recovering from the noise of the jets, they were treated to a fly-past of the Southern Cross. It's a replica of Charles Kingsford Smith's famous plane. Among many records, the original Southern Cross was the first to cross the Pacific. Some more nostalgia as a group of stylish DC-3s cruise the sky. But enough with the past. The final act of the Australian International Airshow was the RAAF's mighty bomber, the F-111. Squadron Leader Grady is the man at the controls.
It was one of the first swing-wing aeroplanes ever developed. It's known as polymorphism. The whole idea is to allow an aeroplane, a high-speed bomber, to have the wings back for the high-speed flight and to sweep the wings forward to achieve a lower landing speed. The lower the landing speed that you can achieve, the safer it will be, and it's a lot easier on mechanical devices, wheels, brakes, for example. It's beautiful to fly. It's a very smooth, balanced aeroplane. It has a relatively heavy feel about it, but it has a hydraulic-assisted flight control system, so there's not a great deal of weight associated with it, but the aeroplane does roll and pitch relatively slowly. But it is the Cadillac of the sky. It's beautiful.
The F-111 is still one of the fastest jets in the sky. Not bad for a design now over 25 years old. Show patrons didn't get to see happened over the skies of Melbourne. On their way to Avalon, some of the RAAF planes detoured over the city to give a lunchtime flypast.
It's been a big week here at Avalon, the Trade Expo, the heat and the dust, and of course the remarkable aviation displays. I hope you've enjoyed the tour of the Australian International Airshow. I'm David Brown. I look forward to seeing you at Airshow Down Under 99.